At the beginning of the film, we see an old wooden box with something moving inside it. A woman stands nearby, clearly terrified, trying her best to ignore the strange presence as she nervously begins combing her hair. But suddenly, her hair starts falling out into her hands, and panic takes over. She becomes convinced that the box is the cause of all this, so she decides to destroy it. Gathering her courage, she walks toward the box with a hammer, but as she gets closer, disturbing noises begin to echo from within. It feels as if the box is alive, slowly taking control of her mind. Her vision starts to blur, and before she can react, an invisible force lifts her into the air. Helpless, she floats for a moment before being violently thrown to the ground, leaving her unconscious. Meanwhile, her young son keeps knocking on the door, worried by the strange sounds inside. When there is no response, he breaks the window and rushes in, only to find his mother lying there, badly injured. The story then shifts to a man named Clyde, who reveals that he is separated from his wife and currently going through a divorce. Their two daughters now mostly live with their mother, only spending weekends with him. One day, Clyde takes them out for a drive, trying to spend some quality time together. Along the way, they come across a house hosting a yard sale, which turns out to belong to the same old woman. Among the items for sale is the very same wooden box that caused her suffering. For reasons she cannot explain, Clyde's younger daughter, Emily, feels strangely drawn to the box. She insists that her father buy it for her. Just as they are about to leave, they notice the old woman, now covered in bandages, desperately screaming at them to not take the box. Her warnings are filled with fear, but Emily doesn't understand the danger. Though frightened by the woman's screams, she still takes the box with her and quickly gets into the car. Back at home, Emily tries to open the box, but it refuses to budge. Even Clyde attempts to open it, but fails. With no success, they leave it in her room and go to sleep, unaware of what they have brought into their home. Later that night, Emily wakes up to a strange noise coming from inside the box. As she stares at it, the box suddenly opens on its own. Curious, she approaches it and looks inside, discovering several unsettling objects, including an old ring, a dead moth, a tooth, and a strange wooden piece. Without hesitation, Emily puts on the ring and returns to bed. From that moment on, her behavior begins to change drastically. She becomes quiet, distant, and emotionless, no longer showing interest in the things she once loved. Clyde and her sister barely notice the change, assuming she might just be unwell. But the following night, Emily wakes up again to the same mysterious sounds. This time, we do not see what she does, but something is clearly getting worse. The next morning, Clyde walks into her room and finds her sitting silently in front of the box. Through the mirror inside it, we see something horrifying. Emily is no longer herself. Her reflection reveals that she is possessed by a dark and evil spirit, her eyes filled with something unnatural and terrifying. But the moment she turns toward her father, her eyes return to normal, hiding the truth. During breakfast, her behavior becomes even more disturbing as she eats like a wild animal. When Clyde tries to calm her down, she suddenly stabs his hand with a fork. The shocking moment leaves both Clyde and her sister stunned. But just as quickly, Emily snaps out of it. Seeing her father's bleeding hand, she bursts into tears, clearly confused and scared by what she just did. This makes it clear that Emily is not in control. Something else inside her is responsible. Unable to understand what is happening, she continues to cry, while her family, still unaware of the truth, brushes off her behavior. As another night passes, things take a darker turn. The next morning, while her sister is brushing her teeth, hundreds of moths suddenly appear out of nowhere. Terrified, she calls for her father. When Clyde rushes in, he notices that all the insects are coming from Emily's room. He quickly opens the door, only to be met with a horrifying sight. Emily is sitting calmly on her bed, holding the box, completely surrounded by thousands of moths, yet she shows no fear at all. Clyde calls out to Emily, but she remains completely unresponsive, trapped in a deep trance. Realizing something is seriously wrong, he quickly carries her out of the room. To deal with the situation, he calls a pest control team to clean the house and sends both of his daughters to stay with their mother for safety. While staying there, Emily calls her father and says something unsettling. She tells him to take care of her box and warns him not to open it. Hearing this strange request, Clyde becomes deeply concerned. His curiosity grows stronger, and he decides to check the box himself to understand what is causing all of this. When he finally opens it, he finds the same disturbing objects that Emily had discovered earlier. That very night, Emily's condition worsens. She becomes extremely sick, and when she rushes to the bathroom to vomit, she feels something alive moving inside her throat, as if it is trying to crawl out. Terrified, she looks into the mirror and slowly opens her mouth, only to see something horrifying. 2 fingers begin to emerge from her throat, causing her to panic in fear. After a few days, Emily manages to get her box back, and from that point on, she refuses to be separated from it. She carries it everywhere she goes. One day at school, a boy tries to grab her backpack to take the box, but Emily reacts violently. Consumed by anger, she attacks the boy and beats him badly. The incident shocks everyone, and her parents are immediately called to the school. Her teacher assumes that the ongoing divorce between her parents is affecting her behavior, making her aggressive and withdrawn. Emily no longer shows interest in school or playing with other children, but what she did this time clearly crosses the line. As a result, the teacher takes the box away from her and locks it inside her office. That night, something terrifying happens to the teacher. She begins to feel drawn toward the box, unable to resist its pull. When she tries to open it, it refuses to unlock. Suddenly, her eyes begin to change, just like the old woman's eyes earlier. Her body starts twisting painfully, and an unseen force lifts her into the air. She is violently thrown across the room and slammed through the window. Unlike the old woman, she does not survive. The fall kills her instantly. The next day, the news of her death spreads across the school, shocking everyone. The school is closed, but Emily shows no sadness at all. Instead, she speaks to her father in a cold, unsettling voice, demanding that he bring her box back immediately. Frustrated and confused, Clyde asks what is so special about the box. Emily responds in a chilling way, saying that there is a friend inside the box who only talks to her. Hearing this, Clyde becomes truly afraid and decides that the box must be destroyed. He goes to the school to retrieve it, but instead of bringing it home, he throws it deep into the woods. When he returns, Emily becomes extremely angry, almost as if she can sense what he has done. As they argue, something terrifying happens. An invisible force suddenly slaps Emily hard across the face. No one can see who did it, but her sister, seeing Clyde standing nearby, assumes that he was responsible. Shocked and scared, Emily runs out of the house. The unnatural way she runs makes it clear that something else is controlling her. She heads straight into the woods, searching for the box. Once she finds it, the spirit inside begins speaking to her in a strange language. To Clyde's horror, Emily responds in the same language. Moments later, a massive swarm of moths pours out of her mouth, and she collapses on the ground. Clyde rushes into the woods and finds her lying there unconscious. He carries her back home, but when he arrives, he is met by the police. His older daughter had called their mother, believing that Clyde was hurting Emily, and she brought the authorities with her. Because of this misunderstanding, the situation turns against him. A judge rules that Clyde is no longer allowed to see his children, leaving him completely devastated and helpless. Despite everything, Clyde knows that the true cause of all this chaos is the box. Determined to uncover the truth, he takes it to a college professor who specializes in history and has deep knowledge of spiritual matters. After examining the box, the professor explains that it is a dybbuk box, marked with ancient Jewish writings. When Clyde asks what a dybbuk is, the professor reveals that it is an evil spirit. He explains that the people who created the box performed a special ritual to trap the demon inside it. Using powerful magic, they sealed the spirit within the box to prevent it from harming anyone else. Hearing this, Clyde finally understands the horrifying truth. His daughter is not just sick, she is possessed by a powerful evil entity that has taken control of her. Desperate to save her, Clyde returns home and begins researching ways to remove the spirit. One night, he gathers his courage, takes a Bible, and attempts to perform an exorcism on Emily himself. As Clyde begins reading from the Bible, Emily suddenly wakes up and stares at him with a terrifying, unnatural look. The fear overwhelms him, and he drops the Bible, realizing that he is completely outmatched and cannot fight this evil on his own. The very next day, Clyde travels to New York in search of help and meets a Jewish rabbi, hoping to find answers. When a young Jewish man sees the box, he immediately becomes frightened and takes Clyde to meet an older rabbi. But instead of helping, the elder rabbis refuse to even go near the box, backing away as if they can sense the danger within it. They question Clyde about where he got the box, and he explains everything, from the yard sale to his daughter's worsening condition. After hearing his story, one of the rabbis reveals the truth. The demon inside the box was searching for an innocent soul, and it found one in Emily. He explains that the only way to save her is to discover the demon's secret name and force it back into the box. But Clyde is lost. He has no idea what the spirit is or how to find its name. Desperate, he begs the rabbis for help, but the elder ones refuse, believing the exorcism to be far too dangerous. As Clyde leaves the building, broken and hopeless, the young rabbi from earlier follows him outside. Moved by his pain, he promises to help perform the exorcism, even if it means risking his own life to save Emily. Meanwhile, back at her mother's house, Emily's condition becomes far worse. She begins acting completely out of control. Once a vegetarian, she now eats raw meat straight from the fridge like a wild creature, showing how deeply the demon has taken over her. When her mother sees this, she is horrified. As she tries to stop Emily, she is suddenly attacked, barely managing to escape. Soon after, her boyfriend arrives, and she explains everything that has been happening. He dismisses it as a mental illness and suggests sending Emily to a psychiatric hospital. But Emily overhears this conversation, and the demon inside her becomes furious. The next day, when the boyfriend tries to speak to her, she stares at him with pure hatred. Her face looks pale and lifeless, with dark shadows under her eyes, making her appearance even more disturbing. Suddenly, the air around them begins to shift. The wind starts blowing violently, and before anyone can react, the boyfriend is thrown against the wall. In a horrifying moment, his teeth begin to break and fall out, filling his mouth with blood. Her mother watches in absolute terror as Emily suddenly collapses to the floor. When she rushes to her, she finds Emily seizing uncontrollably, blood coming from her mouth. Panicked, she immediately calls an ambulance and rushes her to the hospital. At the same time, Clyde and the young rabbi manage to open the box and discover a hidden piece of glass inside. When they break it, they finally uncover the demon's secret name written within. Now, they have the key needed to cast the spirit out. Without wasting time, Clyde takes the rabbi to the hospital where Emily is being treated. Seeing her condition, the rabbi insists that the exorcism must be performed immediately. He warns that the demon is trying to claim her soul, and if they wait any longer, she will die. Even Emily's mother, who once doubted everything, now believes them. She reveals that during an MRI scan, she saw a horrifying demonic face inside Emily's chest. With no other choice, she begs them to proceed. Clyde and the rabbi secretly move Emily into an empty physical therapy room and begin the exorcism. As the rabbi starts chanting prayers, Emily lets out painful, terrifying screams. The box is placed near her, and the ritual begins. With each passing moment, her condition worsens. The lights flicker violently as the demon fully takes control of her body. With unnatural strength, she attacks everyone in the room and manages to escape, running down into the hospital basement toward the morgue. Clyde follows her into the dark and terrifying space, but the moment he finds her, she attacks him brutally. She throws him across the room, overpowering him completely. Then, something unexpected happens. The demon suddenly leaves Emily's body and enters Clyde instead. This happens because Clyde had repeatedly shouted for the demon to leave his daughter and take him instead. Now possessed, Clyde calmly walks Emily back upstairs. Her mother is overwhelmed with relief to see her daughter normal again. For a moment, it feels like everything is finally over. But the rabbi knows the truth. The danger has not ended. The demon has only changed its host. Without hesitation, he prepares to continue the exorcism, this time on Clyde. The rabbi gathers his strength and loudly calls out the demon's name, Abizu, commanding it to leave Clyde's body and return to the wooden box. He repeats the name again and again, his voice growing stronger with each command as the tension in the room reaches its peak. Suddenly, Clyde collapses to the ground, and in a horrifying moment, a demonic hand begins crawling out of his mouth. The sight shocks everyone present as the evil spirit slowly forces its way out of his body. Moments later, the entire entity pulls itself out, revealing its terrifying form. Under the rabbi's powerful command, the spirit is dragged toward the box and gets sucked back inside. With a loud slam, the box shuts tightly, sealing the demon away once again. The exorcism is finally complete. The nightmare that haunted the family has come to an end, and they are safe at last. Overwhelmed with relief, they thank the rabbi for risking his life to save them. In the final moments, we see Clyde, his wife, and their 2 daughters sitting together, sharing a peaceful meal. For the first time in a long while, the family looks truly happy. The trauma they faced has brought them closer, and instead of separating, Clyde and his wife decide to stay together and rebuild their family. It feels like a perfect ending, but the story takes one last dark turn. Before the credits roll, we see the brave rabbi driving away, taking the dybbuk box with him, hoping to hide it somewhere safe. As he drives through a lonely, dark road, tragedy strikes. A large truck suddenly crashes into his car, causing a devastating accident. The rabbi is killed instantly, and the wooden box is thrown onto the road. Despite the impact, the box remains completely intact. It lies there silently, waiting for someone else to find it. And with that chilling thought, the movie ends, leaving behind a terrifying question of who will be the next victim of the cursed box.